Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. In accordance with Public Act 254, 2020, members need to identify their physical location by stating the county, city, township, or village and state from which he or she is attending the meeting remotely. So, Madam Mayor, can we have a roll call, please?
Good evening, everyone. I will do a roll call for the ZBA board member. This is Yvette Talley, City Clerk. First person will be Mayor Garrett, Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Here, Las Vegas, Nevada, Clark County.
Councilmember Ferguson.
Present, Lathrup Village, Michigan, Oakland County.
Councilmember Medley.
Here, Setauket, New York, Suffolk County.
And Councilmember Siddiqui.
Here, Lathrup Village, Michigan, Oakland County.
Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum for the ZBA.
Thank you,
Board
and
of
sorry for
Appeals.
calling you. Thank you, and sorry for calling you. I think I called you the mayor and not the clerk earlier. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. We all have different titles on these meetings, so. But that one's
So,
not mine.
go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag,
of the United States of
of
America,
America, to the republic,
to the republic
for which it stands,
stands,
one nation,
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
With
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
I'll take a motion to approve the agenda, noting that we don't need to have the public comments because those are incorporated into the public hearing, item 5. So if somebody'd like to make a motion.
I will make that motion.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Ferguson,
yes.
Board Member Cantor,
Yes.
Board Member Medley,
Yes.
and Board Member Siddiqui.
Yes.
Motion carried to approve the agenda.
Okay, thank
Chairman
you.
Cantor, would you also entertain a motion to excuse Mayor Garrett?
Yeah. I'll take that motion if somebody'd like to make that.
I'll make a motion to excuse Mayor Kelly Garrett.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Roll call. Board Member Cantor,
Yes.
Board Member Ferguson,
Yes.
Board Member Medley,
Yes.
and Board Member Siddiqui.
Yes.
Motion carried to excuse Mayor Kelly Garrett from this meeting.
And the next thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the ZBA meeting of June 21st, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 21st, 2021 meeting.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Medley,
Yes.
Board Member Siddiqui,
Yes.
Board Member Ferguson,
yes.
and Board Member Cantor.
Yes.
Motion carried for approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals minutes of June 21st, 2021.
Okay. Next on the agenda, the Zoning Board of Appeals is holding a public hearing on an appeal filed by International Outdoor Incorporated on behalf of the property owner at 17600 East 11 Mile Road in Lathrup Village, Michigan, to obtain cited variances from the sign ordinance. Scott, does somebody need to introduce this first, or do we just go right into the public hearing? You're on mute, Scott.
Yeah, sorry, we can actually do an introduction. My understanding is that Eric is here this evening from the planner's office, and they prepared a write-up, so I think he'll introduce it, then we can have the applicant address anything they feel is appropriate to address, and then you can open it up for public comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. My name is Eric Peach. I am the city planning consultant with Giffords Webster. It's good to be with you this evening. As was stated The application before you is for 17600 West 11 Mile Road, which is near the intersection of Southfield Road and 11 Mile, which is also 696. The city ordinance does not necessarily prohibit billboards, and so the application before you and the 6 variance requests is in regards to the sign ordinance, Chapter 52. Chapter 52-32E is what allows for the ZBA to consider this variance request, which, again, I mentioned there's 6 variances before you. The first being that pole signs are prohibited, and being a billboard, this is a sign that's on top of a pole. An 8-foot front setback variance is requested under 52-24D. Another setback variance for the side is required 10 feet per Chapter 52-24D. And then a height variance for the sign is required given the 632 feet height of the structure. And then a 65-foot variance for height is required for 52-24D. And then finally, the sign is proposed to be LED electronic, which is not permitted and does not meet the standards of 52-23K and L. And so with that, those are the 6 different variances that are before you today.
Okay, and then Mr. Miller Oram, any comments on that?
Oh, yes, most definitely. First off, I would like to give our condolences from my understanding of the passing of a great loss for the mayor and her son. That's what I was informed of earlier. Next, I definitely would like to thank the board for their commitment to public service. And we appreciate the opportunity for this presentation. And Mr. Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, I don't know, how to go about it. We produced a packet of about 70 pages. So with respect to the planners, I'm hopeful that all the members have the package and I can walk you through the different pages because it's about 70 pages and I believe that it's very detailed with respect to artist visuals and maps and measurements. So is there a preference or would you like me to present and I can walk the members through the different pages, or would you like me to, how would you suggest or prefer that I go about this?
Probably makes sense. I mean, all the council members have received the packet and have
Okay.
Read through it. So it probably makes sense for you to maybe take 5 minutes and just, hit the high points and the key points that you want us to be aware of.
I think it's also important too, there were 2 potential locations, an east and a west option that were identified in the packet. Not all 6 of these variances would be required. It was kind of a combination because we weren't sure which option that you intended to move forward with. So some would be required for some wouldn't be required for the other option. So if maybe you have a better understanding of which option you'd be pursuing, that would be helpful as well.
Okay, and I would agree with you. What I'm going to do is try to briefly go over it. I think it'll probably take quite a bit longer than 5 minutes, but to try to give a full explanation. But I think we've provided enough visuals to try to put enough information so that you can, take a look and see about what an informed decision on who we are as a company and the details. As I mentioned earlier, who we are locally, I think it's important in the sense of advertising as to who you're dealing with. International Outdoor is a women's business enterprise certified company located in Farmington Hills, Michigan. We've been in business since 1997, and it's a family-owned small business run by my wife and myself, who's the primary shareholder, my wife is. And we're locally owned and operated. We're certified as a women's business enterprise, as well as Detroit-based business and Wayne County-based business. And I think that one of the things that makes us different in the process of all of you trying to make a decision on partnering up with somebody is who is the company. What you're going to find is we have hundreds of sites over 100 sites throughout the metropolitan area. we're conscious to the message because all of us live, work, and play in the community. Earlier today, I drove by, Lathrup Village twice. Matter of fact, going to Royal Oak and coming back to Farmington Hills. Many of the people that live in your community, we're friends with, and we're cognizant of the messaging on a billboard. So I wanted to share that briefly with you. And a lot of that is in the package. When you look at our package, we have a big section in the package which talks about our community messaging. And one of the things I did want to share, throughout COVID for 10 weeks, we shifted all of our billboards that are digital, like that's proposed here, to thank the emergency responders, to try to make it a call to action so that people can get information, to try to put up community messaging, to try to inform the communities that we serve and serve us. And we did that for a period of 10 weeks, and we did that at no charge, to try to the places of worship, to let people know that, hey, by the way, you can go online and view it. So when you look at that, that's something that we're proud of. And one of the things I want to mention up front as part of this proposal is to have a community initiative focus. What we're looking at doing is partnering with the city of Lathrup Village to the point where we would donate or commit to a certain amount of advertising space. As you all know, the 696 freeway is very desirable from a visibility standpoint as well as a demographic standpoint, and it's in the heart of your community. What we want to do is, and what we're proposing at the onset, is to have a community benefit partnership to the point where we would donate and include a certain amount of marketing and advertising space on the billboard, which wouldn't cost the city anything whatsoever. And we would also do the creative. We have this partnership with the city of Rochester Hills. We have it with the city of Romulus.
Taylor.
We have it with the city of Taylor, Wayne County, and Oakland County. So we would have and propose something of this nature with the city of Lathrup Village as well. When you look at the details of that, and they're included in the package, and I'll address any questions later on it. One of the things is, is location approval. MDOT has approved, and you'll see the letter on page 16. MDOT has approved the billboard for the location, the size, the height, and the type of the billboard that we're proposing. With respect to, I believe it was the planning, Eric person that just recommended, MDOT is not involved in a lot of those variables, but they are involved in quite a bit. Any visibility for off-premise advertising on a state thoroughfare has to have an MDOT permit, and we are permitted and already have granted the approval by MDOT. One of the concerns, I think, as a community as a whole is LED technology. And I'd like to touch base on that because as you all see it throughout the community, the LED technology has changed quite a bit over the years, from the fluorescent bulbs to the incandescent bulbs to now an LED bulb. An LED bulb is more directional. And this particular technology that we're going to be utilizing, it's in the pages in the back of the unit as well, where it talks about lumens and lighting, and I can go through that as well. But you're talking about the safety features for digital billboards. The billboard itself, you'll see on the different pages, it's a 20-foot V. So it's shaped in a V where the narrow end of the V is facing the freeway. And that's strategic. And the reason that's strategic is so that the viewer is looking at the billboard. And part of the different reasons for the variances is, while this is a pole sign, we can cover the pole with cladding. So it kind of would be a monument sign / pole sign. So the pole would be hidden. And we've got samples of photos that I believe that you already seen in the package. When you look at the different variances, what we did is we figured, how could we build the billboard? And as was mentioned by Mr. Baker, we have an east and a west on the same property site selection. The east site selection would go behind a pine tree, and it would still have the decorative cladding that looks like a brick facade. and that would be over a building. The west version would be right in the parking lot. And the unique part about it is with the variances that we're requesting, we're not going to be taking up any parking spaces, because when you look at angled parking, there's a little section of that particular parking lot that we could put what we call an auger mounted pole inside of that parking lot and put cladding on it and still not take away from any parking whatsoever. So that's one of the reasons for the different setbacks as far as the setback, the front setback, the side setback. On the east portion, what we did is we tried to hug it up right up against the property so that we could tuck it away behind that pine tree. The height variance, if you look at 696, you're 40 feet below grade in certain areas. And as you'll see with the maps that are shown, in particular, the different maps with 513 feet viewing cone on page 7, which the state allows for visibility, and that's what they consider reasonable visibility. We've got 3 different bridges there. We've got the Lathrup Boulevard Bridge, the Turnaround, and Southfield Road Bridge. But we still believe that with the exit ramp coming off on Southfield, you'll be able to view it from the right-hand lane for a limited purpose. And when you look at the visual photos that were provided, traveling eastbound, your line of sight is looking up. So we need that height so that when you're looking up, the visibility is the billboard. And what's unique about the technology today, and we've included it in the package, is it's angled technology. So an LED light protrudes straight out. With these particular billboards, the light is protruded downward at a downward angle towards the driver. Now, when you look at that along with the V-style sign, the emphasis is for the driver to see the billboard. The other thing is, and I know that some of the concerns may be, will the residents be impacted by the signage? We've taken some photos, and when you see billboards, traditionally, the back of the billboard is kept vacant and empty, and you can see behind the back of the billboard. What we proposed is so that it wouldn't have that type of an impact of looking at the skeleton of a billboard, is to put a panel on the back of it so that if one was to see it, it would be dark in the panel itself. We've done this in Rochester Hills at one of the sites that we did a couple of years ago, and they've not had any complaints whatsoever, not even with the digital, nor have they had any complaints with the visibility from viewing the sign from the back of it. So these are different precautionary things that we try to do. The other thing is, in looking at this particular property, I think one has to take to consideration the mature vegetation. On the one side, we're from the edge of the sign to the south, we're over 400 feet, and you have to look up, and then you've got the retaining wall there. So your line of sight is looking up, and as you know, the farther that you are away, the more your line of sight you can see up. But in this circumstance, you've got the retaining wall, you've got over 400 feet to the south, and then to the north, we would put the back panel filled in, and then you've got a lot of mature vegetation. And with the short distance of this particular property, as far as its depth and the unique characteristics that it has, that's the main reasons why we're looking at the variance. If you look at the examples that we had in the presentation, we've provided numerous examples. The industry standard for a billboard or off-premise advertising or a digital display sign is 672 feet. The billboard that's on, or it's a billboard on 696 at Greenfield, is currently getting converted over to a digital display. You'll see that the pole is down and they're in the process of converting that. It's the newer technology where traditionally we have to print the vinyl, put somebody up, and then the other thing is we can have multiple advertisers on there and you can do it instantaneously. We're proud of the fact that we are partners with Amber Alert. We're proud of the fact that the state police, and we can even work with the Lathrup Village Police Department to the point where in a case of an emergency, they can go ahead and load up whatever advertising or messaging that they need in case of an emergency. We're proud of the fact of the community messaging that you've seen. We provided about 7 pages with probably 40 or 50 different samples. And either site, depending on what conditions and what questions your honorable body may have, either site we believe would work for us. And whatever questions that you may have, we are not taking up any parking spaces if we go to the western site selection, and nor the eastern site selection. In the way that we build the sign and the technology, you wouldn't take up any space whatsoever. The other
Mr.
thing
Miller?
I think that would be, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. I mean, I know, as I said, I think all the council people have read the packages. Can you? I mean, the meeting is only supposed to be a half an hour, so I just wanted to make sure we have time for public comment and for discussion among the ZBA members. So I just wanted to ask you if you could summarize any points that I think are relevant that may not be in the packet, or anything that you want to emphasize real quickly to the board.
There are a few, and I'll go ahead and address them. One is, it would be the only billboard. State spacing requires and allows for 1,750 feet on either side of the freeway. This would be the only billboard on that roadway, and also the only billboard in the city of Lathrup Village. We talked about the community signage. The rest of it, as far as the details go, that's, the rest of it, I think if you've gone through the messaging, we've allowed the safety studies in there, and I'm here to answer any questions with respect to any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Let me open it up to the public hearing, and then we'll come back and see if any of the board members have specific questions. Want to go ahead and open up the public hearing. We're going to limit comments to 2 minutes apiece. I also want to mention and thank the residents. We have received a number, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or more public comments written. Those comments were distributed to council for all of us to read, and they will be placed into the record. I think just in terms of overall, I think all of the comments that were received were against putting up any type of public billboard. And that said, I will open it up for public comment if there are residents or others who would like to speak on the matter.
Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Roger Lynn has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Roger. Roger, are you there? You're still on mute, Roger.
Someone might have to unmute him.
There, he's unmuted.
There we go. Go ahead,
Okay,
Roger.
hey, thanks. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I
Yes.
can hear you fine.
Fantastic. Hey, I've been a resident in Lathrup here for over 30 years. And personally, to have a billboard in our small town of 1.5 miles, I find that very disturbing. I know you mentioned, Greg and Randy, you mentioned Romulus, Taylor, Rochester. I mean, these are some major cities. I mean, good sized cities compared to Lathrup Village. I could see you guys going and focusing on in Southfield, but not Lathrup Village. Concerning cities like Birmingham and Beverly Hills, it would be the same way, putting up a billboard in those cities. Do you guys have billboards in those cities? So personally, I'm definitely against it. I think a lot of the residents would be against it. And I think it would degrade our village look. I know we're trying to go with the DDA and try to make a little downtown area walker friendly and everything like that. Plymouth, Michigan, do they have a LED billboard in Plymouth? These are some of my concerns. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Mr. Nick Payne.
Go ahead, Mr. Payne.
Sorry, that's my son's name. My name is actually Lincoln Hill. I'm a Lathrup Village resident and just 2 streets up from that location. I'm definitely against this. As Roger noted, this is definitely out of the character of Lathrup Village. I think the location there, as Greg and Randy noticed, is it's got a considerable vantage point from the off-ramp from westbound 696. I don't think we need any more traffic at 11 Mile in Southfield. I think the traffic situation at 11 Mile in Southfield is treacherous for a lot of people. So I want to go on record as I'm against this.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Jason Hammond.
Go ahead, Jason.
Hi, this is Jason. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you fine.
Okay, great. So my comment is that the city has sign ordinances for a reason, right? There's a look and feel that we're trying to have in the city. I have seen variances approved for much smaller signs for specific businesses, but those signs that were that had variances approved were in line with what we were trying to achieve in terms of having smaller signs that promote specific businesses. I don't feel like the sign matches that type of intent. And for that reason, I'm against it. And I live at 27590 California Southeast. I'm pretty close to this location. I don't think I would be able to see it necessarily from my backyard, but I'm more concerned of just how it deviates so far away from other sign or the sign ordinance intent. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kaylin Danforth.
Go ahead, Kaylin.
Hi, this is Elsie Babcock. I'm over Kaylin's house, but I just want to comment about and agree with what everyone else said. I have worked in Taylor and also Romulus, and those areas where those signs are posted can look completely different than running through Lathrup. You can see the community right off of the expressway. And off of 94, there's multiple signs, right? And a lot of businesses. But this proposal, I just want to say I'm against.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Kaylin Danforth has another question.
Oh, no.
Go ahead, Kaylin. Whoop, you're muted, Kaylin. There you go.
No, I don't have, Elsie has my computer. I guess we just have to lower the hand.
All right, thanks. Anyone else?
No other hands raised at this time.
There is
Okay.
a comment in the chat, Mayor Pro Tem. How does this sign pair with the historic district? A completely inappropriate addition. And that was the only other comment I've seen.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and
You
open
know
it up.
who BHK is?
I do not.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the board members for questions if they have any questions for Mr. Miller or Mr. Oram.
I have a question. This is Ian Ferguson. Hey, thanks for the presentation and the explanation. Really appreciate it. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a question. So there is a sign just like yours, roughly 1 mile in Oak Park, right off 696. I think it's a little bit past Evergreen. And I need to know a couple of things. Is that your sign, number one? No.
No, are you talking about at Greenfield, 696 at Greenfield?
Greenfield.
That's
I
the
said
only-
Evergreen, sorry, Greenfield. So as you're
Yes,
traveling,
yes. No,
yeah, you're traveling
no,
east.
Yeah, no, that's not our sign. That's an out front sign that is currently being converted to a two-sided digital. It's currently down right now. They're retrofitting the structure. You'll see the cranes out there. You'll see a digital sign there in the near future. No, that's not ours. That's out front. It's one of the largest display sign companies in the country.
Yep. Second question, why Lathrup Village? Why did you select Lathrup Village when you could have gone to Southfield?
Well, when you're looking at opportunities, one looks at, visibility factors and demographics. When you're looking at, and I know the comments talked about different communities like Plymouth. Plymouth has multiple digital signs in their community. The advantage is the traffic count, the demographics of 696. That's one of the reasons why we looked at Lathrup Village. And when you looked at the visibility that we could get from that particular location, that's what we decided. That's two of the factors. The other thing is there's a lot of most recent updated to sign ordinances throughout the country. One of the things in looking at this is that we looked at, could we conform to the ordinance? And, the challenge with it is probably not. So that's why we're asking for the variances. But to answer your question, council member, it's the desirability of the traffic along 696. A lot of the communities, as was mentioned by Mr. Lynn, you don't have 696 going through them. When you look at east or west, you have visibility factors, and we've looked at other communities. We found this opportunity and decided to bring it forward. And the laws.
I'll make a comment. I'm the director of real estate for the company, and I originally was approached by a property owner on another site in Lathrup Village. That's what originally tweaked my interest in Lathrup Village to begin with. Other than the fact that I live one street off of Lathrup Boulevard. I live in Spring Arbor Drive, and I walk my dogs through the neighborhoods there and in the backyard of your lovely city building all the time. But after analyzing that gentleman's property, we've determined that there was absolutely no way that property would work because of all the it just wasn't possible to do anything there. And in so doing, I found out what might work and approached those property owners, and I had a couple of interested parties, and this is the one that we are taking forward here.
Yeah, and one of the comments with respect to what was said, and that I think it's adding on, is out of character. We can put a brick facade on it. It's going to be geared towards the freeway. It's not going to be geared towards the residents. It would be the only sign in Lathrup Village. The ordinance in the zoning does permit it with variances. In a lot of the communities, I think you mentioned, like in Southfield, further, the only property in Southfield is the credit union on 696 and Evergreen. Other than that, billboards of any sign advertising off premise is not allowed in residential zoning.
Okay, so as far as visibility, wouldn't you get more visibility right past the Evergreen, and I'm talking Evergreen, entrance onto the freeway at 696, where you have a divider there going to Northwestern Highway, and then on through 696, you have a major traffic flow at that divider? Do you know where Northwestern Highway and 696 actually divide there?
The land
right
in
to the
and
right of
around
that
it.
is an empty. Is there an empty lot right before you exit? Right at 11 Mile, I believe, where the post office is. There's quite a bit of viewing there. So why did you not select that area?
There's a lot of properties, Councilman. We chose to proceed in this particular location because we think that it would be something that we have an opportunity. We have a deal already inked on this particular property, and we believe that we could probably do well. We've got, petitions in other municipalities currently. So we've got a lot of projects that we're working on. This is just one of them. There's no rhyme or reason why we selected one over the other. We haven't looked at the city of Southfield at all for billboards. We believe that the ordinance in Lathrup Village allows for it, and it accounts for it with the variances requested. And we're just here before your body to try to see about getting approval.
Okay. As far as messaging goes, you mentioned that you would offer this messaging to the city of Lathrop Village at no cost, but who actually controls the messaging on the board?
In a couple instances, one, if it's voluntary messaging, we control it and program it here. And if it's emergency messaging, either the Michigan State Police controls it, which is current for Amber Alerts and other state emergencies. We can connect the police department, the Lathrop Village Police Department, so that if they felt that there was any need at any time whatsoever, they can take over advertising. It's every 15 minutes, the communication cycle loops, and any ad that you put into the system, then it loads up. And we can even provide, if we know, like say that taxes are due March 30th, we can provide the messaging and we would go ahead and post that here for you at no charge. We would provide the creative, as well as we have a standard form that we work with the city of Rochester Hills, and they fill out the form, we provide the creative and we post it. But in an emergency situation, we can work with your police department, and the state police automatically has they already have access to, in the state, for all of our digital billboards to take them over immediately in a case of an emergency.
Okay, so just so we're clear, it's classified as a fully digitized sign.
Correct. The way that it works is there's 8 advertisers for 8 seconds each. So in each cycle, you cycle the different 8 advertisers throughout the day. So there's 8 different advertisers for 8 seconds each. And depending on the community's needs, we would assign, you know, a certain portion of that ad space to the community to get their message out.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just ask one question to the applicant? You know, in order for an appeal to be approved, there has to be some type of hardship. And reading through the documentation, I did see, you know, you mentioned hardships in a couple of places, but I didn't really feel like what you mentioned was a hardship. Can you talk to, you know, what the hardship is in this situation that would require or would necessitate, you know, approving those 6 variances?
Well, when you look at the hardship, you know, 696 came through. The property itself, each property has its own unique characteristics. When 696 came through, they took a portion of those properties. And the unique hardship here is the size of the particular property. And when you look at the hardship, as far as for the variances, you look at the uniqueness of the property and the depth of the property. So you've got a smaller piece of property with respect to trying to do something. And then when you look at the positiveness of it, you're looking at it fronting 696. And if I may, I've got the practical difficulties, which I think are the same thing as the hardships when you look at on this particular property. One of the hardships with the property, and my apologies, I had to go on page 31, I think you'll see the deviations and standards, is that you've got the 3 bridges there on that particular property. You've got the unique characteristics of the depth of 696, the width and the depth of it. It's not at surface level, so therefore the reason for the height. When you look at the size, you're looking at the distance, you're 125 feet from the edge of the sign to the viewing side for the cross read, which would be traveling eastbound. When you look at that's the reason for the height. So, and when you're looking at the, one second, you're looking at the unique characteristics of the particular property is the hardship.
Okay.
So I guess I'm
any-
not understanding it, and I just want to ask really quickly. So a reason for us to create a variance, and we're asking for 6 here, to allow these signs or this big sign, is that it would there's a particular hardship created for the property owner. So what you've done is you've outlined how 696 split across a property, but you haven't said to us how someone owning that property is experiencing a hardship because we're not allowing this sign. And so I'm just not quite following the logic.
Well, the property itself has a use, so it's not like there is no use for the property. This is maximizing the highest and best use for the property because, as I think the planner mentioned, it is allowed, it just needs variances. So,
but Randy,
the hardships are there.
Authorizing the highest and best use is not demonstrating a hardship. And so I just want to be sure I understand what is the hardship to the owner or to you that allows that you're lobbying that we should have a variance. And I'm not trying to be difficult, but Bruce will tell you I don't do planning and zoning, so I have some questions.
Listen, there's no question that's out of realm to be answered. If you have questions, it's our job to address those concerns as best we can. It's the unique characteristics of the property. That's one of the situations. The other one is that I think in the process, in studying this particular ordinance, I think the ordinance, while it does allow it, you look at the signage, it says that you can allow off-premise signage. We've got multiple examples of off-premise signage towards the back of the package that was exhibited. So it's the unique characteristics of the property, the bridges, the depth, that's the unique hardship. And I think that what we're looking at is, would the city of Lathrup Village consider an opportunity to partner up with community messaging on the property if it doesn't deter from, and I know there was some concerns with the residents, but when you look at, will it be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare of the residents? We don't believe so, because we're not going to create any more congestion of traffic. We're going to complement it with community messaging, but those are the hardships, and we've explained those in the package that we have.
Any
Mayor
other
Pro Tem, I did have
Yeah.
one question based on a comment made by the applicant. I thought I heard you say that the sign changes every 8 seconds. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so that's actually an additional variance, because that any sign that changes more than 8 times per day is considered an animated sign under our ordinance, and animated signs are prohibited. So that would be an additional variance request.
Yeah. Yeah, if I may address that, it's not animated whatsoever. The state of Michigan Department of Transportation doesn't allow for animation. They do allow for instant messaging, where there is no time difference, and it's the same 8 advertisers. So it's not more than 8 advertisers. It's 8 advertisers. They're just in a rotating succession. So a lot of people look at it differently, but it is the same 8 advertisers. So just to address that.
And Randy, I have a question about that. Just having purchased billboard advertising before through these mediums, typically they would you would buy that in a package. So if you have these 8 advertisers and they change daily, so in theory, if you could have 56 advertisers in a week. And so you would be bulk selling these to an advertising company that would be putting these messages out. Is that correct?
No, we sell with digital technology. I don't know the questioning, but with digital technology, it's real time, literally. I mean, it's real time once you upload it every 15 minutes. So the way we
what I'm
sell
asking
it here,
is who's doing your advertising uploading? Is there an advertising company that's buying?
No, we do it in-house. No, I'm sorry. We do it in-house. And just to address a concern, we do monitor the content. We don't allow any lewd or lascivious content, and have not had any issues in the 20+ years that I've been. We don't allow anything that's lewd or lascivious on any of our billboards, digital or static, but we upload the content here.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Salim. I have a quick question. You had mentioned that the signage would not cause any issues or trouble for the residents from their homes. How did you test that? And do you believe in that statement? Just wondering how you tested that out. Thanks.
So what we did is we went to the site and we figured out the height with a crane. And then from there, when you look at the page, we have a map. Once we figured out the exact height and how it would look and where it would look at the 70 feet, we have a study that we provided on page, one second. We have a study that we provided from the company that we buy the billboards with, which is on page 54B. And what you'll look at is that particular billboard with the V-style structure where the back end of it is flared by 20 feet and the narrow end is about 5 feet apart. And it goes pretty deep with respect to one candle and a full lumens. And what's the strength of that particular LED all the way to a distance, which I believe goes to 500 feet towards the end, where if you're looking at the billboard, and it's kind of hard to do it over Zoom, but if you look at it and you look at the billboard to the right of that particular map and to the left, from the edge of the traveled roadway, you barely will have any light interference. And then when you look at, obviously behind it, it's all zero because there is no light interference. And then if you're looking at the billboard to the west, it's primarily geared towards the roadway. And with the angled lights, that's how we determine that. When you look at the angled lighting in pages 54 and the studies 55, it shows you the technology. It's not protruding straight out. The LEDs are protruding down towards the driver, as opposed to most LEDs that protrude out. Now, it may look like you're seeing it differently because at night with a bright color, there's a nice contrast, sort of like Councilman Ferguson's backdrop. You know, you've got the dark blue with the white. So at night, it seems like it may be brighter or different, but actually they're only operated about 20-25% at night with the LED lighting. It's really at the daytime that the LED lighting competes more with the sunlight, so you burn more, you burn it stronger. But based on the technology that we're proposing for this site, which is the most advanced technology, the V style of the sign, the distance, and one of the variances that we requested is to be closer to the roadway so that we would be further away. And the closer we are to the roadway, the closer that V gears towards the traveling passengers.
And Randy, I had one more kind of question. You had talked about the fact that this isn't actually, visible to residents. So when we're talking about that V, it's going to be visible to people traveling on 696. Is that correct?
No, it would be visible to residents. It's just more limited in capacity.
Okay.
It's just a matter of the line of sight, and would you be looking at it with full brightness as opposed to at an angle?
All right. And so I guess the question I would just ask of you is, how would having this sign in Lathrup Village, how would it enrich the lives of our residents?
When you look at the public messaging, when you look at the public awareness, when you look at the instant upload time, when you look at the community benefits, in Rochester Hills, when the kids weren't allowed a graduation, we posted the kids that graduated from Rochester schools on the billboard and said thank you. So when you look at trying to reach out to them, I know it's a digital world and this is live. So I believe that not only that, but if you're looking at different events for, the city of Lathrup Village, if you have art in the park, if you have something, the value here is the demographic and the traffic count on 696. And that's, as Councilman Ferguson asked me, why here? That's the reasons why. So I think when you're looking at having a medium that would, cost $600,000 and the city is able to market whatever it is that they feel a message that would be proper at no charge is a community benefit. And on top of that, we do pay personal property taxes on that particular property for the sign itself, not necessarily. But you can promote the different events, different calls to action, different cases of emergency. That's one of the big ideas for community benefits.
Okay, any other questions from the board members? Okay, then we'll entertain a motion for to approve or deny the variance requests.
So I have a question, Bruce, before we do that. Do we have to approve or deny each of the individual ones?
I guess that would be a question for Scott. I mean, we can do it as, well, do we have to do it individually or all at once, Scott?
I think again, the applicant really didn't specify which east or west option they were going for. So I would indicate that you address each one separately. You can make the same motion for each one or the same rationale for each one if that's what the board wishes to do. But I do think each one should be addressed individually, just based on the two options that have been presented.
Okay. All right, so does anyone want to make a motion one way or the other for the first of the, amazing, I'm just looking for lost my sheet.
Yeah, let me find my sheet also, Bruce.
Yeah, so for the 52-28L, which states pole signs are prohibited.
I will make a motion to move forward and consider whether or not a pole sign variance should be granted.
So I think we're looking for a motion to approve or deny.
Oh, I have to say I make a motion to approve, or I have to make a motion to deny.
Correct. And
Correct.
I would direct whomever is going to be making the motion to the city's zoning ordinance 7.7-614A through H are the standards for granting variances.
So I'm sorry, Scott, when we're looking at what we have, so I cannot make a motion just to deny chapter 52, section 52-28L, stating that pole signs are prohibited. The applicant is proposing pole sign 1. I recommend deny. Is that not an appropriate motion?
No, you can, again, if that's the deviation standards that are outlined in the zoning ordinance, that's the criteria that the zoning board of appeals utilizes to evaluate whether or not the applicant has met the standards. The one of them that has been, there's actually a couple of them have been discussed. The biggest one is the practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship that's being caused by the ordinance the way that it's written. I don't believe the applicant has demonstrated that practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship has been created. There's also the benefit to the community that has been addressed, but there are several other standards that the board is to consider when reviewing these variance requests. And again, I did indicate based on the applicant's statements this evening that the use as proposed, changing every 8 seconds, that's approximately 11,000 times that sign would change. Now, I understand it's only 8 different advertisers, but our ordinance states that anytime a sign is changed more than 8 times a day, then it's considered an animated sign and not a changeable copy sign. So that would be an additional variance that would be requested if the applicant intended to have that sign changed that many times.
So Don, you're going to make a motion?
I think you said a mouthful there, Don. So maybe we should take it one at a time here. So I think you can use the statement in, for example, 1 through 6, you just go one line item at a time.
All right, I'll give it a go. So here we go. So given variance request where the petitioner is asked to have a pole sign created and a variance for section 5228, I would recommend denying that. I would make a motion to recommend denying that request for variance.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would just say that, you know, as the person who kind of initiated the review of the sign ordinance last winter, you know, in regard to, you know, some of these backlit light signs, you know, that we thought were out of character for the village. I just think that our ordinance is really there to balance the needs of the businesses, to have signage with the residents' desire for a place to live in a place that's aesthetic and not oversigned. So I don't feel like this meets the sign ordinance, and I also don't feel like the applicant has shown a hardship for that particular site itself. So that's the only comment that I would make. I don't know if others have other comments.
I'm not sure of the hardship.
Yeah, this is Salim. I just think it's, yeah, we've talked about signage before and have not approved, you know, signs that are, you know, slightly bigger than what our ordinances are. And I think this is much, you know, it's on a much greater scale. I just don't see the residents supporting this. That's my comment.
Yeah, I would agree and add in. So the sign as it is now is really overkill with some light pollution that I believe will be a problem right at that location if you're putting it on the westbound traveling side. So if it was just a regularly illuminated sign, I still would have an issue with it based on the size. In addition to that, as Esquire Baker has pointed out, that sign changing more than 8 times, in addition to the problems of illumination, I just don't think it's right for Lathrup Village, nor would I even entertain that in the near future.
Okay, anything else? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Ask the clerk for a roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Siddiqui?
I'm going to say yes to denying the motion or to approving the motion to deny, right? Yes.
Okay. Board Member Ferguson?
For approving the motion to deny, I would say yes.
Board Member Cantor?
Yes.
And Board Member Medley?
Yes.
Motion to deny adopted.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the next ordinance. Or variance, I'm sorry.
If I may, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity, and we appreciate your time and your patience. And again, we thank you for the opportunity and thank you for your commitment to public service and your community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make a motion to deny the 8-foot front setback variance that is required per 52-24.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Ferguson?
Yes.
Board Member Cantor?
Yes.
Board Member Medley?
Yes.
And Board Member Siddiqui?
Yes.
Motion to deny adopted.
Okay, take a motion for the next variance.
I would make a recommendation to deny a 10-foot side setback variance as required per 52-24.
It's been motioned and, oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
For a second. It's been motioned and seconded. Roll call, please. I'm sorry. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Cantor?
Yes.
Board Member Medley?
Yes.
Board Member Siddiqui?
Yes.
And Board Member Ferguson?
Sorry,
Board
my
member.
mute. Yes, sorry.
Motion to deny adopted.
Okay, for the next variance.
Okay, I make a motion to deny a 632 square foot variance for the sign area as required per dat 52-24.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Medley,
Yes.
Board Member Siddiqui,
Yes.
Board Member Ferguson,
Yes.
and Board Member Cantor.
Yes.
Motion to deny adopted.
All right, I make a motion to deny a 65-foot variance for sign height as required per 52-24.
Second.
Been motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Board Member Siddiqui,
Yes.
Board Member Ferguson,
Yes.
Board Member Cantor,
Yes.
and Board Member Medley.
Yes.
Motion to deny adopted.
Scott, do we need to make a motion regarding the LED/animated sign?
No, they haven't, the applicant hasn't indicated that they wish to add that variance request, so.
Okay.
But Scott, don't we have to do one for the electronic sign, which 52-23 K&L?
I thought you did that one already. No?
No.
Then yeah, that one needs to be done for that, because that was included as part of the review
Yeah.
from Giffords.
All right. So I'll make a motion to deny the proposed LED electronic sign as it does not meet the standards of section 52-23 K&L.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Roll call. Board Member Ferguson,
Yes.
Board Member Cantor,
Yes.
Board Member Medley,
Yes.
and Board Member Siddiqui.
Yes.
Motion to deny adopted.
All right, well, so these 6 variances have been denied. I do appreciate Mr. Miller and Orem's time and for thinking of Lathrup Village, but unfortunately, these variances have been denied. Moving on, we have public comment on things that aren't on the agenda. I'll open it up for public comment.
I think you actually took that off, and that would be addressed during the general meeting.
Oh, I thought we took off the public comment that was with the public hearings. They were both, I mean, I guess it doesn't.
Okay, yeah, if there's any public comment, you can have it.
There are no hands raised for public comment.
Okay, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All right,
And
meeting's
reconvene.
adjourned, and we'll reconvene as the city council immediately. It's a
right.
different Zoom, though.
All right. Do my best.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Right.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you. Thank you.
presentation. Have a good evening.